So he's gone then. Thank fuck. Today, at time of recording, as if you needed me to tell you, Keir Starmer has resigned as the 58th Prime Minister of Great Britain and the United Kingdom. He stood outside Downing Street this morning and said,
"The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace."
For good grace sake, I just simply couldn't hold on any longer.
Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first.
Well, I'd certainly like to believe that was true, but certainly it hasn't felt that way for the last 2 years, has it? And ultimately, if Starmer is remembered by history at all, it will be for being one of the most detested politicians and prime ministers this country's ever known. And well, that'd be for good reason, to be honest. He is for now, and very soon to be was, an incredibly unpopular appointment. And it's been that way his entire tenure as PM. After all, people have been saying for years now that he was voted in a landslide. But when you look deeper into those numbers, that's not strictly the case, is it? It's been said to death, to be honest, isn't it? But people didn't really turn out for Starmer, and they didn't really turn out for the Labour Party. What's more the case was that people just didn't show up for the Tories, and really, people didn't show up at all. It was one of the lowest turnouts for a general election ever, and really that says it all. That's the real story there. He was simply not as hated as the other option that was available. He wasn't even the best of the rest at that point, was he? And I would argue that anyone that voted Labour in that last election would have voted Labour no matter who had ran. And since that election, it's gone about as badly as it could have gone for any politician. He's systematically gone about making himself the most universally hated option there's ever been, certainly in my lifetime. And I think that goes for both sides of the aisle as well. But I'm not going to linger on Keir any longer. There's about 1 billion channels that are going to do that, and they're going to do that a lot better than I can. So instead, I'm going to look ahead to what's coming, because let's be honest, there's only one reason that Keir Starmer's resigned, and it's not because we, the people, want him gone or have any kind of say in whether he stays or goes anyway. It's because his party and the people behind his power, the power behind his power essentially, have already lined up his replacement. Former Health Secretary, former Shadow Home Secretary, a man who just 3 days ago, at time of recording at least, won the Makerfield by-election, actually by a landslide. And that was for one idea, and one idea alone, really. They want to elect
the King in the North.
And The Guardian even ran this headline over the weekend: Burnham allies confident of number 10 Coronation after surge in backers. And that word there says it all, doesn't it? Coronation. It's being thrown around a lot online and in the media, and it really does sum everything up that's going on right now. Meanwhile, on the right, the worry is that the country is about to slide into even greater irrelevance and ultimately face its final demise. And that's a fear that, well, could well be founded. Only time will tell on that. This morning, I'll say it once again, at time of recording, Farage posted a video on the Reform UK channel calling for a general election. And, well, there's been a lot of chatter on X as well about Restore facing really harsh infighting, and there's a load of internal turmoil. Obviously, that's all speculation, but it's all about to get crazy. It's all about to go down, and pieces are rapidly shifting across the chessboard. Where do I land? Well, essentially, I don't particularly see a difference between the politics of Burnham and Starmer. It looks like it's essentially business as usual, with the exception that Burnham is being held up as the... And that's perfectly fine if you're the mayor of a large city in the north. I suppose Mancunians alone can tell us in the comment section whether he's done a good job or not. Certainly as an outsider, somebody that used to frequent the city quite a lot, someone that has a real love and affinity for the city's musical past, not. But, you know, ultimately, whether you're on the Burnham bus or not, running a city is not the same as running a country. And let's be honest, we've already speedrun how badly a previously considered good mayor, or at least one that was admired by his constituents at his time in office, can then go on to ruin the country. The whole Starmer story is one of comeuppance, essentially. At the end of the day, he got what he deserved. He pushed too hard, too soon, flew too close to the sun, and ultimately his chickens came home to roost. And when you think about it now, given what's happened, maybe last week's under-16 social media ban was just thrown in there at the end for two reasons. Essentially, who on the right could challenge him? After all, and on the other hand, if this ban and therefore digital ID via the back door had backfired, if it does backfire in the coming weeks, well, then it can't possibly be used as a stick to pop that Burnham bubble. I don't know, to be honest. I think all we can really take away from this political theatre is simply that it is all political theatre. This kind of political machination has been played out before. It will be played out again. And while watching the whole Makerfield coverage, the sort of internet patter behind it. There was one example, and one example alone, that I kept coming back to.
Good evening and welcome to the Dunny-on-the-Wold by-election.
Blackadder Series 3, Episode 1, Dish and Dishonesty, is perhaps one of the finest political satires of all time, and it really does, for me at least, capture everything that's been going on in the last week or so, and it really does speak to how politics is run in this country.
Firstly, we shall fight this campaign on issues, not personalities. Secondly, we shall be the only fresh thing on the menu. And thirdly, of course, we'll cheat.
I simply can't believe that nobody in my burgeoning, budding audience won't know who he is, but I will simply say he's probably the finest comedic character existing in possibly the greatest British sitcom of all time. He is clever, ruthless, and absolutely devoted to one thing, and one thing only, above all else: self-preservation.
Fine, well, the money's in my desk.
No, sir, it's in my wallet.
In Series 3, Blackadder, who superbly and, I might add, iconically played by Rowan Atkinson, is the butler to the Prince Regent, the prince who would later go on to become George IV, of course. But at no point does Blackadder act in his master's best interest, be that socially or politically, and he has no intention of acting in the country's best interest. For me, he really does represent the silent holders of power, the ones who operate outside of that Westminster bubble, the ones who operate in the shadows. To my mind, at least, particularly in this series, and also in this episode, to be fair, he represents the civil service, the people that, you know, again, are that faceless holders of power.
Our slogan shall be, a rotten candidate for a rotten borough.
The episode revolves around and is set in the fictional rotten borough of Dunny-on-the-Wold, which is a single parliamentary seat that somehow controls the balance of power in the Commons and is therefore finds itself of national importance, kind of like what happened in Makerfield a couple of weeks ago. No disrespect to anyone that lives in Makerfield or is from Makerfield, but I'd never heard of it before sort of 4 weeks ago. And again, that's no disrespect. It's just basically it's one community in however many number of communities there are in Manchester, let alone Greater Manchester, let alone Great Britain. But all of a sudden, it found itself of national importance. Back to Blackadder, again, representing that faceless holder of power. Again, this is just an example, so you have to go with me a little bit here. But obviously, he engineers that Dunny-on-the-Wold by-election. He installs himself as the sole occupant of the borough and therefore the sole voter of the borough, and then takes the next step of installing Baldrick as a politician running for office. And the result, shall we say, is a foregone conclusion.
There you have it. Victory for the Adder Party, a sensational swing against the Whigs.
Now, I'm not saying that anything nefarious happened in Makerfield or that it was rigged or that it's a rotten borough or anything like that, but certainly things had to happen in the real-life by-election to open the door for Burnham, and not to mention the fact that most notably the MP that was in place, Josh Simons, had to stand down to open the door for Burnham. But also the fact that Makerfield's been a Labour safe seat since pretty much the Labour Party was established clearly had something to do with why Simons had to step down in the first place. Again, I'm sure everything was above board. I'm not insinuating that anything nefarious happened. I'm not claiming that anything dodgy happened, but you get what I mean. Stuff had to happen, and it did, essentially. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I think that's the kind of thing that's perfectly captured in this episode of Blackadder, although obviously, don't get me wrong, it's an extreme version of it, but essentially it's that notion of performative democracy, the notion that not everyone in this episode, in this show really, is acting in free will. They're all kind of part of a bigger system that they're operating in or basically just trying to survive in. But again, those strings are often pulled in real life, and those strings are often pulled by faceless entities, people that we don't elect, people that we don't really know, people that we don't really see, and not in some Illuminati way necessarily, but often they're there because that's the way the system was designed. That's how the system looks after itself.
And who does run this department? I do.
And so Prince George, Pip the even younger, Baldrick, even Ivor Biggin, they're all performing roles in a system that was designed and built long before any of them arrived to produce a very specific result. Now, obviously, I'm drawing parallels between fictional characters, fictional settings and whatnot, and political satire. Obviously, you know, Blackadder is a really famous show. It's one of the best British sitcoms of all time. If you've never seen it, you really need to go out there and watch all 4 series. I mean, the first one gets slated an awful lot, so maybe skip that one on the first run through if you've never seen it, but definitely do come back to it, pick up again, because I think it's superb. Brian Blessed is just phenomenal in it. But ultimately, what I'm trying to get at with this parallel that I'm trying to draw is that Blackadder really, really perfectly sums up what I think is going on in the political sphere at the minute, and that some entity somewhere has put a plan together for better or for worse. And it's probably the same entity that put Starmer in place and then protected him and basically carried his water for the last 2 years, despite scandal after scandal, and subsequently has spat him out, by the way. Enter anti-Burnham via this Makerfield by-election, the first vacancy engineered specifically for an engineer not in Parliament since 1965, according to this Miller research at least. And again, that Guardian article, Burnham allies confident of number 10 coronation. Coronation, that word again, summing it all up. And I'd ask you, quite genuinely, with genuine and honest curiosity, to those of you on the left in particular, what exactly do you think is going to change when Burnham waltzes into number 10? I can't see how this is anything other than business as usual. So given all of that, given the rotten borough analogy, or an unfair one in this case, but you know what I mean, that engineered coronation which is clearly being set up, the really ordinary transfer of power between these two men, or at least that's what appears to be happening on the surface. What is the answer here for anyone that kind of wants to challenge this narrative, anyone operating outside of it or disagrees with it? Well, I've been thinking about this quite seriously, and I keep coming back to one name, one candidate, one man who's never bent the knee to the establishment, never just gone along with what he's told to, never done what he's been told to do by the Labour Party, by the Tories, or any other political organisation whatsoever for that matter. A man who's risen off his own back, a man of controversial opinions, granted, but a man that's never been afraid to stand up and be counted, a man of courage, a man of consistency. You know who I'm talking about.
Who are you? My name, what kind of journalist is this? You don't know?
Is he the leader this country needs? No. But at this particular moment, standing in the wreckage of yet another managed coronation, looking at a parliament that's handed itself a third prime minister in almost as many years without bothering to consider what we, the electorate, think. The only thing we can really guarantee is that the pieces that are being put into place aren't necessarily a given. Just because Burnham's being positioned as the man of the moment for Labour and for the left right now, that doesn't mean that there isn't potential turmoil that could fall down on all their heads in the coming future. I mean, I'm assuming that he's going to run unopposed, or at least anybody that would run against him will be controlled opposition. But someone might say something. They might accidentally damage Burnham. They might accidentally damage their party. I don't know. Nobody knows at this stage. And on the right, are they capable of coming together? Are they capable of unifying to fix the issues that are plaguing the country? Or are they just going to be lost in infighting? Are they going to do what they're always accusing the left of and eat themselves? I genuinely don't know, and I'm genuinely interested to see what the comment section says for this video, because I think we're going to find ourselves in a general election before we know it. I don't think anyone's really ready for that. I think it benefits the left, but the right is definitely not ready for it. And so if a general election does arise, I know who I'll be voting for.
I've Jesty not Madam Biggin.
Standing at the back dressed stupidly and looking stupid.
I genuinely don't think he could do worse than anyone on the left or the right, to be honest. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. If you took anything away from it, please do consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing. Let me know what you think happens next. Do we see a general election before too long? Should we see an election? I mean, this is a change in Labour leadership, but it's also a change in leadership of the country. So should that go to the polls? I think it should. Let me know what you think below. And if we do go, is the right ready? Can they galvanise? Can they come together and, you know, form a real challenge? Or is the left bolstered by the Burnham bubble? Time will tell either way, I guess. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one.